I thought there would be. I thought there would be equal both ways. I didn't know exactly how they were going to do it, but I think, I still think as long as you're playing the same amount of home games and road games, I think that's fair. To try to work out a schedule to be perfect for everybody, it just doesn't happen. So I didn't look at the schedule and say, wow, this is going to be, it's not fair to us. I didn't look at it that way. So we'll do the best we can and try to get off to a good start.
Hey, I also wanted to ask you, how much of your time is spent with baseball and how much of it is spent with, virus issues and medical issues and the protocol stuff?
Certainly way more than I've ever had to do on the medical end. I know some years you have a lot more injuries than you do. So sometimes you're dealing with that. But so far, Kevin Gregg and I have become pretty good friends here lately. So talking about all the medical issues, Brad and I conversations, multiple times a day. These things are hard. They're hard because there's still laws in place where you can't disclose everything that goes on. And so you have to be careful with how you or what kind of information that I give you guys. And I told you, we'll try to be fair to you guys and we'll try to give you what we can, but there still are laws in place. And that's why sometimes, as you can tell, I try to skirt around things.
I mean, obviously a lot of this has fallen on you to direct the players with the right things to do and to make sure the team is doing what they're supposed to do. Do you feel like you're getting enough time in to coach baseball, to manage baseball?
Yes, I am. I guess the conversations that you have that I've always enjoyed are, I'm standing out in the outfield and I'm maybe shagging or talking to a coach, and all of a sudden I think about something I'd like to go discuss with a player. And before I could just go and walk up and find him and discuss it. Well, he may not be coming in until 2 hours later in the next waves, or he may have already come in and he's already gone. So those discussions are a lot different. It's a lot different because I can't have team meetings. So all these things make it a little tougher. I still get to what I think is important and I need to do, and I'll continue to try to make sure that I have time to do that. But certainly bulk of the time is the medical end and trying to figure out how to do things right. I know today I had to tell them to separate the chairs again behind home plate, and I look forward to not having to do those things.
Ron, how much do you feel for Eduardo in this situation? Coming off the year that he came off of, and obviously his health and safety are first and foremost, but he's a young kid and everything else. It's just, I guess, something you talked about. You never thought you'd have to deal with it, but how much do you feel for a kid like this in this situation?
Yes, of course, always difficult. And the medical end of it certainly comes first. It's just like an injury that comes first, to make sure that guys are healthy and they feel, good enough to get back on the field. Eddie, coming off the year he had last year, and I know how hard he worked before he came to the first spring training. I know how hard he was working before he got COVID. And so that's the difficult part, is when you see a guy that's on a mission to not only repeat, but try to get better than what he did last year. It becomes difficult, and you feel for the guy because I know the expectations he had this year coming into it. And I know things have changed because of the shortened season, but I know he was still looking forward to really leading his team on the mound and having that kind of year again.
Ron, how do you feel about playing the Yankees 7 times in 17 days early?
Yes, we do have them early. So, again, it's this getting off to a good start. Some teams it takes longer. No matter what you do in spring training, you always try to prepare those guys, be ready for opening day, and you tell them that your first game and your first day in spring training in your meetings. But some years you get off to great starts. Some years it's really poor starts, and you never know. So hopefully we're hot when we play them early, and hopefully they're not. And that's, I guess, what it comes down to.
Ron, depending on how long you guys are without Eddie, is there a chance you could go with 2 openers to start the season, or would you rather stick to one?
I think it probably worked better if we just had one. I think we have enough candidates in camp that we can find that fourth guy, and maybe it's just one opener, or maybe we decide with our guys and what we have that that it would be better to go with another starter in that fifth spot. And like I said, Eddie's still on me about being ready for opening day, so we'll see what happens there.
Ron, any update
Ron, down
on
in Fort
Caleb?
Myers, you were talking.
You asked that one again. You were kind of blocked off.
John, you want to go?
You got it.
Yeah, thanks. Ron, any update on Caleb Simpson and his arrival and intake?
Came in today, and same thing. He's got to go through the intake. Whether that takes 2-3 days to get an answer back. So I'm not sure exactly when he'll be ready. It's kind of like I guess some other teams are going through and just trying to figure out when we get the test results back.
Ron, down in Fort Myers, you were talking about how you pushed for this job harder than you've ever pushed for a job, and you felt like you were the right guy for this team in the situation they were in. With everything that's gone on with the virus and everything, is that kind of reaffirmed that for you?
I think it does. Obviously, a very difficult situation going into spring training, through spring training, and certainly since with all that's happened. And how to put it back together again in a short spring or short camp, I should say, not spring anymore. So yes, I think experience helps this. I think certainly having Jerry Naron here helps me in trying to cover all this. And already it's pretty much an audible every day. So we write up a schedule. We know that things aren't going to go smooth. We have different plans in place, and pretty much this day 5, we've had 5 different schedules that we've had to put together. So it's always adjusting. And I think anytime you have experience that you have that have gone through a lot of things, makes it simpler to make these decisions.
Ron, you've talked a little about how you don't really get to have the same kind of meetings. Obviously, there isn't as much sitting around talking baseball as maybe there would be in a normal situation. Because of that, do you think you lean on your leadership group, or you will be leaning on your player leadership group even more so to sort of spread messages to make sure guys are doing the right things, because you won't always have the ability to talk to them one-on-one and in groups?
Yes, we talked about leadership with the players yesterday, and more important than ever this year, especially with the lack of meetings that we have every day. Their voice becomes more important. Their leadership and their direction that they're pointing guys becomes more important. And we feel good with the leaders that we have and the guys that we have on this team and what their focus is, so that it becomes a big part in every team, but I think even more so this year.
Xander Bogaerts talked to us earlier. Can just tell us a little, even in the 3 years you've seen him sort of maturing into the leader he is now, what he means to this team?
Yeah, I think the leadership I started to see a lot last year. I think this guy played like a leader the first year I was here, but I think I know he became more vocal last year, especially with the Latin players. But I would say he's more vocal with everybody now. And I've said a lot about Xander and his personality and how I feel about him. But to see a guy, this type of player that we know how good he is, but also the mood that he's in every day that is great, the work ethic that he has, and he enjoys the game as much as anybody I've been around. So all those things, if he's willing and comfortable, make him one of those guys that does turn into the leader that you need. And I think even more this year coming into camp, he knew, I think, kind of that he was the guy, and he was fine with it, and he didn't change his personality. He was still in a great mood every day. So I think it's important, and I think going forward, I think he's going to continue to grow. Hopefully, he'll continue to have the kind of years that he has on the field, but certainly with leading guys in the right direction, we count on that.
Ron, what about Xander setting expectations? He, I think, mentioned the fact that he was surprised more people haven't talked about the Red Sox as contenders in a 60-game schedule, given their existing talent group and a talent base. I'm just curious to get your read on what it means to you as a manager to hear one of your leaders setting expectations.
Yeah, it's important. He, along with the other guys, were not happy with what happened last year and that we didn't play better. They were coming into camp this year with that idea that, and I know we weren't picked well before all this happened either. So whether it's a chip on the shoulder, whatever it is, I think these guys were ready early, and it's too early for me to tell where guys are at right now. But once we get into this, once we get past all the COVID reports that I hope I don't have to answer too much more, I think that I'll start to see, where we are as a team. When we start playing these inter-squad games, it'll show a lot. But they're focused on not having the kind of season that we had last year. And what happens in 60 games, I can't tell you, but I know we'll be ready to play. I know that the effort is going to be there every day. And you hope you just, like I said, you start well, and then you play 500 ball, and then you get hot somewhere and you're back in the playoffs.
Ron, this is sort of a random thing, but did you take any science classes when you were at UCLA?
No, I was just trying to get by and stay eligible. So, but I obviously going through all this stuff, I guess it would have been better for me if I would have.
I mean, you must feel like you've learned a lot about infectious disease in the last 2 weeks. I mean, with everything that you have to deal with. Yeah,
we talk about how to word things with Brad, and he's telling me what to say, and I'm saying, Brad, I can't remember all that stuff. Can we make this a little simpler for me? So it's been challenging, no doubt. I do like challenges. I do, and this is this will be good when it's over. I think we'll look back and say, wow, that was tough, and if we can do that, we can get through anything that comes up. And that's all about, when we talk about guys building character, it's all about what you go through and what you learn and how you keep pushing forward to make things, whatever abilities you have come out.
Here on, I assume Eddie's shut down from throwing right now. Is he how far built out? How much was he built up when he was throwing on his own? And if you can get him back relatively soon, how far back does he have to go?
Right. Yeah, he was built up he was throwing basically 4 innings, and the medical staff is kind of directing him and to make sure, obviously, that it's safe what he's doing. And I think when he's feeling 100%, they can start pushing him a little more. But they're really, he's under their direction, and they'll consult David Bush and make sure that David's in line with what we think he needs to do and to try to stay with keeping his arm not only active but built up.
And then just beyond even filling out the rotation, opener and starter, all that, but do you have a feel for how many? I mean, do you just need multi-inning guys just to get you through at least this beginning part? Because I think you go, I don't know, maybe a week and a half before you get an off day, and you're going to have to kind of just get through some innings in the beginning, I would think.
No, you're exactly right. We've already talked about that, how the multi-inning guys are important, and we're going to have to stretch them out here as quick as we can. So they've done a really good job, as I've mentioned, before they came into camp. Most of the guys were already throwing multi-inning bullpens, so that allows us to push them harder here at a quicker pace. And I think by doing that, that we should be able to cover those innings. And like you said, we don't have an off day for a while once we start up. So really important to get those innings in, and to where I don't have to, if we're questioning whether I should put a guy back out there, I'd rather not do it early and just say, hey, we've got other guys who can throw a lot of innings. Let's just go there. So that's the plan right now. Anybody else?
Ron, in terms of Devers working out at BC, was there any particular reason that you wanted him to go with Carlos and be away from the group here?
I think we're just trying to get everybody at different places. There's reasons why sometimes I do things. Sometimes I can't tell you guys. Sometimes I can. But for right now, that's what we did. And like I said, we'll get him back over here and get him working out. And I know he wanted to see some velocity today. We got a machine over there. We're giving him some velocity in the cage. Tomorrow he wanted to see live BP. We're getting him live BP and just making sure we're giving him what he needs to be ready. He wants to be in these inter squad games. Like I said, not necessarily maybe on defense, but we'll get him at bats.
Hey, Ron, before all of this happened, was your intention to have Eduardo start opening day?
Yes, it was. So I told him that. I know I didn't mention to you guys. I was waiting probably the next day or so. I would have told you guys. So just unfortunate that that we may not be able to still do it. We'll have to wait and see.